Okay, recording is on. So what did we do last week? We had an overview of statistics. It was like the basic know-how of statistics, right? We know what is statistics, what is the importance of statistics. Statistics is all about collecting, presenting the data, right? So we know about statistics. We talk about its importance in our daily life. Then we talked about some basic definition of statistics. That's population, sample, parameter, and statistics, right? So parameter belongs to population, statistics belongs to sample, right? What is population? Let's say this is our class and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 students. Now, if this whole class is the interest group, means I want to know information about the whole class, then I can have two options. Either I can ask questions and get the information, get the data points from each and everyone. So I can go to each and everyone and take the information, right? So all 10 students, I go and ask them. So that it means I'm considering the whole population as my study interest, right? So I take the information from whole class. Like, but when let's say this is the class, and this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 students, but I don't have time. Maybe one student is somewhere else and somewhere else, and so they're not at the same place. So I cannot. So what can I do? I can choose like out of 10, I can choose 4 students, like 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'd say that these 4 students, they can represent the data. They can represent the whole population, right? Why, how, how I choose, how I choose, how I select, how I select these 4, that's we're gonna learn today, right? Today and tomorrow. That on what basis we're gonna select these 4 out of these 10, and are they truly representing the whole population or not? So when we take these 4 and the statistics from these 4 are known as the statistics, and from population is parameter. So last week we talked about this. Then we see what is descriptive analysis and what is inferential analysis. So I'm sure that you all know now that what is descriptive. Descriptive means, as we know, that descriptive from the word comes from the word describe. So here we describe the data. How? 4 things: collecting, collect, present, right? Collect and present the data through different. How do we collect? Through primary data and secondary data. Present the data through different tabular form, through different graphs. So that's how we collect the data. Then we talked about like different types of variables. So there are 2 major. Oh, sorry. What is inferential data? Inferential data to conclude based on the description of the population or sample. So to conclude means inferential, like to infer, to come up with the result, and to make decisions. Right, so this is really important part. So as well as this one. So here we collect the data at descriptive part, and here based on the results, based on the estimations, we conclude that this data shows this behavior. among two different variables or among other variables, right? So different properties of the data. So that's how we infer. Then we also talked last week about the types of variable. There are two major types of variable. That's qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative can also be known as attributive. Attributive means your qualities. Like when we classify the data, according to different qualities. For example, gender. I have a same population of 10 students. Now I classify that four are female and six are male. Right? So what is this? This is a qualitative data. When I differentiate between them because of the gender, right? In qualitative, we can again have nominal and ordinal. What is nominal? Nominal is just like different based on their qualities, right? They are different, but we don't know which one is better. For example, I don't know this female is better than male or male is better than female, right? So I cannot say these two options, right? Then we talked about the quantitative data. In quantitative data, we have discrete number. What is discrete number? What is discrete number? Discrete is a whole number. It's countable. We can count discrete data, but we cannot measure. For example, measure means I cannot say the data into 3.4 or 4.6, right? So that's the discrete data. Now, in my class, there are 10 students, so that's discrete. That's going to be discrete because I cannot divide the 10 into into continuous part. Whereas continuous, discrete can be anything like number of bottles. So we talked about these things. How, and then we learned about the level of measurement, that how do we measure these data? So there are four scales. Nominal scale, of course, from the name, it's gonna measure the nominal variable. Ordinal scale measure the ordinal, and interval we measure discrete, and ratio we measure continuous, right? So that's how we measure the data. Today, what we're gonna learn, first let's have a background look that how to collect the data, right? How to collect the data. To check the biasness of the data. If there is any biasness data, then it can lead us to wrong results, right? We can have certain tests. So what is a biasness data? That first of all, where the data come from. Is it coming from the reliable resource, or it's just like a word of mouth? Word of mouth means somebody told me about some information, and I don't know if it's true or not, but just someone was telling me because he or she listened or learned from others, and they also don't know. So that's word of mouth. So like a gossiping. So it's just like a gossiping word of mouth. That, for example, one of my friends said that, oh, there's a new car available. It's really good one. So he's telling me the information about that data, that it's like a color and the quality of the car, but I don't know. Maybe it's reliable, maybe it's not reliable. So I can't consider my friend as a reliable source. So data source, in collection of data source is really important. Data source is really important. Most of the data, because big companies always, whatever they are doing, like they are producing the products, they are selling the product, they are shipping it to international destinations, they all are collecting the data for their analysis purpose. So this, and nowadays with the mobile phone, with the help of mobile phone, we can have a lot of data. We can have a lot of data. How? Oh, let's see. Um, First thing, whatever we search on the internet, whatever we search on the internet, right? Now let's say if I'm using UQ or YouTube, what they're gonna do, they're gonna see what I'm searching every day. So based on that search, now that's information, right? They're getting. So based on that search, they recommend me. They recommend me when next time when I will open UQ, they will recommend me certain videos, right? Which they think that I might be interested. Then who told them? Because they are somewhere which where I don't know where they are, but who told them? I actually told them by giving the data to them. When I'm surfing internet, I'm actually giving them my data about my choices, that these kind of videos I'm interested in because I'm watching those kind of videos. So like after a week, after a month, when they collect the data, so every month, every day when he turns on the UQ, he is watching such kind of videos. So it means like he likes that kind of videos. So let's recommend him some certain other similar kind of videos. So do you understand? So that's the big data. So data is really important. I, because data is important, so collection must be important, right? That how you collect. You should collect the data in appropriate way. So there are different options from where you can collect the data. One, you can collect the data by different organizations, or by different individual researchers. There are different researchers. Like for example, if I'm working on somewhere, if I'm working on something and I already collected the data, so you can get the data from me because I use the data in some paper, and then you said that, oh, okay, I also want to analyze this thing, so can you share me your data? That's both of them are reliable, both because they have collected the data through proper channels, or through government website you can collect the data because they have already collected the data for their own purpose. Then you can also collect the data from private organization, as I told you, like for example, stock firms, stock exchange directly, or you can also get from it, you get it from brokerage firms who used to do analysis. Then you can also collect certain data from banks. Like there are a lot of resources, there are a lot of sources and resources, but you need resources too. Most of them they are free, but sometimes you need to pay. But sometimes you need to pay. So that's the problem when you need to pay because you are a student life. Mostly your university paid already, so you can have certain access to the data while staying in the university using the university um, using the university facilities, internet. So we know, now that a sample and what's the difference between population and sample? Population consider whole every individual of interest, whereas a sample refers to a smaller, manageable version of a larger group. If population size is too big, then we go for samples, because let's say if we have like a population of 1.3 billion, All right, that's the population of China, right? Now we don't have sources. We don't have sources to collect the data from 1.3 billion. So what we can do, we can take the sample from how many counties in China? I think there are like some 100 something counties. I don't know. So you can collect like 10 or 100 data points from anything. So now each county, and then it will be like maybe from small and can be, it can be, let's say 1,000. So you can take the data from 1,000 people from different, how we collect the people from the different counties, that's we gonna know, because this is now the different sampling techniques. This is really important. That's what we're gonna learn today. Remember, if n tends to capital N, the more the small n, the better the estimates will be, because it shows the population in a proper way, in a better way. Yeah. So when we collect the data and get results after selecting a random number of small n, and its results are generalized for n, now in population, maybe results from small n refers 98% of n. So once we get, like, it means like when we get like by using n from n, right, we take out n, and when we see the results, let's say the result says that for, again, I take a population of 10 class students, and I take a sample of 4 students, right? So this is my big N, this is my small n, right? So based on this, I conclude that students are feeling happy in morning classes rather than in evening classes, right? In morning classes. I just get it from the data. I collected the data and I asked them questions, and they said that, okay, yeah. So can it be true? If it is true for this n, like whole class, then it's mean my sample is efficiently been chosen. But not necessarily. Maybe 9 students out of 10. If I check like the complete that this sample is good or not. If I check 9 students says yeah, that's true, but one student say no, I'm happy more, I'm happier in evening classes. So in that case, there's an error. There's a difference between the population and sample estimates. So remember, population is a points which are observed, and this error, you can define in population as mu, and in sample as error. Both are errors, right? Randomized error. Now, so that's the difference: primary versus secondary. As I told you, what is primary data? Primary data is what you collect by asking. Secondary data, you can get it from the other sources, right? If you're getting data from other reliable sources, that's secondary data. If you collect data by yourself, uh, how constructing samples, small n, from population. Then it's a primary data. What's the difference? This is the difference, right? So here you will get n. From n you can get small n, right? Here you already, this n is defined. This n is defined by another party who collected. So every data is firstly it is being collected at a primary level, but sometimes you use others people's data, for example, who already did. So once, let's say if you collect this data, now this data becomes secondary. So next time when you or someone else uses this data, that means it's a secondary data. First time it's a primary data. So that's the difference. But there are certain fault lines. What's the fault lines? In primary data, when you collect the data, especially you conduct surveys, right? Where you ask questions. So there can be some discrepancies, some fault lines, right? In order to collect the data, which can put us in a doubt, which can say that, remember, usually we say like primary data is reliable, but not in every case. Sometimes it's not reliable because it depends how you collect the data. Sometimes people lie when they are giving you the information. Sometimes people, for example, I need to ask questions, so I just like self-proclaim it. So I think like Beijingese, they don't like cash money, and they use mobile phone to pay the money, like WeChat or Alipay. But whereas in the east of China, people still likes mobile phones. People still like currency money, right? It's just my self-proclaim. There is no evidence behind it. So self-proclaim means no evidence. I didn't go. I didn't ask question. Or if I ask question, so I fill it by myself. So there are certain loopholes in that collecting of the data. So this is biased methods. So you can say, for example, I need to ask question from my students, right? 10, and I right, 10 students. So I go and I just give it to your monitor, right? I, I just give the questionnaire to your monitor and ask him to collect the data from here. Now your monitor says, how does a teacher know? How will a teacher know that if I ask them or not? So maybe he will go at home, watch a movie, and after a movie at night, he just take out the 10 questionnaires and fill by himself or herself. So that can create a bias. How do we know? When he will give me this data sheet for these 10 students, I will run some tests. And when I run some tests, the results will gonna tell me that this data is insignificant. So it's not that you can go away with the cheat, right? So whenever you use this kind of technique in the data set, don't worry. There are some tests to run, some statistical tests to run, right? Where I can easily know that, okay, if this data is collected in a proper way or not. Because if I run the test and it gives me insignificant, so I would know that there is some problem in collecting the data. I'm not sure 100%, but I know. So what I will do? I will uh, ask, or I will do by myself. Wait, tell me. I will confirm that is the data is collected in a proper way. So I will go to the class and ask questions by myself, and I know they will tell me that nobody asks us a question, so I will know. So these are some problems, some discrepancies, and because of this, we can also, our error can be bigger. All right, so that's a problem. And sources, we already know the sources. I told you that we can get the data by market, by organization, by conducting the survey. Survey, what is survey? Survey is asking the people for information. Information here is data, right? Directly, that's the survey. Sometimes we also experiment or interview. So it's not necessary that you have to ask question through questionnaire. So survey is paper form, questionnaire. So, but you can also ask like direct in a make an experiment or ask as an interview or recording the results, right? Whatever. Like mostly the medical researchers, I told you statistics is involved in every field. So what do they do? Medical researchers, whenever they whenever they conduct an experiment, they have one device through which they record each and every observation, right? So that's also you can record. That's also a data, right? That's anything you can convert into number. That's data, right? Let's talk further about how to collect the data. So now we know what is sample size capital N, what is sample size small n, what is population size, which is capital N, and what is sample size, which is n. What is the difference between them? What is error and what is sample error, right? Now, how to choose the sample? Two main ways to choose a sample. One is non-probability sample, and the other is probability sample. The non-probability sampling means no random selection. So in these kind of methods, we don't do any random selection. Random selection means when you don't know what you're choosing, right? That's random. So we don't do any random sampling. So it means it's biased, or you choose by yourself based on certain things, right? I'm talking about the same example. Let's say 10 students. So why I choose 4 students is not randomly, right? So that's one. What does that mean? It means it's not representative of population. Can these four, if I choose without any, if I choose with my preference that I like those 4 students, so let's ask them because I think they are smarter than the rest of the class. So tell me, is it like can they represent the whole class or not? Can these, if I don't select it randomly, can they represent the class or not? Can they represent the class or not? Let me see. What do you answer? They can and they cannot. It depends. Sometimes how the way. So that's why it's really important that how you select. So there are certain points where it can reflect, but for sure if the population is bigger, this is I'm just telling you the example of a class of 10 students, but if the population is like, let's say 1,000 students, and then it's not the good way, it's not the best way. But whenever like it's a small population and you want to take a sample from the small population, then it's can, but usually it is not a true representative of the whole population. We will see why. Because but first let's see what is probability sampling. So now we know that what is non-probability sampling, right? What is probability sampling? In probability sampling, we choose the people or the sample, we choose our sample by randomizing them. So by randomizing them is mean to assign them number of likelihood. Like how many every person, every 10 student in this class have equal, the chances can be different, but there are chances of being selected for each one of them. That's probability. Probability. So the chances, the likelihood of occurrence is a probability. So in that case, each person in the population has the same probability, chances to be for being selected. So it's also known as a random selection. Now let's come to non-probability sampling, which is mostly depend on individual choice. Which is mostly depend on individual choice. So in this choice, we have one, convenience sampling. What is convenience sampling? As from the name, the convenience sampling means when you are feeling convenient, right? You don't need to put so much effort. You don't need to put so much resources, right? Where the first, the appropriate sample, the samples are drawn at the convenience of yours. That's convenience sampling based on the location, time, different thing. Let's say you need to do a study where you need to get the information from Beijingese, Shanghainese, different Guangzhounese, right? Different people from different cities or provinces. But you don't have resources. You're a student, right? You say, how can I now? I need to go to the Beijing, go to the Beijing, to Fudan, to some university, Peking University or Tsinghua University. I need to go to Shanghai to Fudan University or Shanghai Jiaotong University, means any kind of university, to collect the students' data from there. I need to spend a lot of money, right? But you don't want to do that. You say, no, it's not a good idea. So what you can do, you can get into your campus and see that the students who are from Beijing or Shanghai. Now, in this case, you just select them based on your convenience. They might be the true representative, they might not be. Maybe they can represent, they are from the same class, from the homogeneous group as you wanted for the Beijingese in Beijing, maybe not. So it depends. It's like a 50% chances. It's like a fluke. It's like a chance that maybe you get the right person or not. If you get the right person, then that's the results will be in your favor, or it will be reliable. The results will be reliable. But in many cases, it's misrepresenting the population. Mostly, in many cases, it's misrepresented because mostly you cannot find the right, correct person. So mostly, not always, mostly it's misrepresenting the population. Right, so try not to choose this way, but it doesn't mean that this method is not a good method, because this is a method about sampling. So you cannot say that it's totally not, because if it's totally not representing the population, we shouldn't include this in statistical theory. Okay, so next is judgmental. Now this one, so now you know convenience, right? Based on your comfort. That's convenience. Now let's see judgmental. What is judgmental? As from the name judgmental, it means you just judge by yourself that this is the right person to ask. But here, one thing is that the person you are selecting is an expert, right? You're not selecting the random people. So when you hear, when something happens and TV anchors, they call for experts. So how do they choose that to which person we're gonna ask? For example, if there's some economic problem, maybe a TV reporter can call an economist, certain kind of economist, because they know that they are the right person. They, because of their experience, because of their past work for the economy. So we should ask them because they should probably know. It's also known as purposive sampling, where we propose certain people when the sample is selected on the basis of knowledge. So here this so knowledge of people is very important. So sample is collected based on knowledge. How? Let's say let's say 10 students, I want to choose 10 people to ask question about fashion. I need to get the data of fashion, regarding fashion, right? So either I can choose, as I told you, with my convenience, anyone, one person from one class, another person from another class. But then I see, I go outside in the campus, I'm moving in the campus, and I see like certain people who are fashionable. Like you can see it, you can see the people who are doing the fashion, like moderate fashion. So I just stop them and I just ask them, because I believe that they are doing the fashion, so they must know about fashion, right? I may be true, I may not be true, but most of the cases I will be true, right? I will getting the person will be true, not I, right? So most of the cases it it allow the people to give a typical person or inclusion of an educated guess. So this is my educated guess based on information I see. If a guy, if a one boy or one girl, they are doing fashion, and I just ask them. So that's my judgmental sampling. Here I judge people on their appearances based on little information I get. I'm teaching in a class, and some of the students, they are answering me all the time. So I judge them, not the based on their scores, but just based on their information, a little information in the class. So I judge them that they must be good students. They must have scored really high in their previous exams. So I select them based on this judgment. That's judgmental, right? That's it. So this is the judgmental sampling. In simple way, it's an educated guess to select people, that these people gonna educated guess. Understand? Now, next is quota sampling. What is quota sampling? That's interesting. Quota, when you put certain limit to certain things. Quota sampling, when you pre-decide. When you decide before that I'm gonna take 40 females and 60 males for my sample of 100. So it means I'm assigning the quota 40 to 60%. So that when I do this, then it's quota sampling. Like every university, they have different students from different provinces, right? So they can have, so some students, they have low marks in their Gaokao. They have low marks, but they can get into a good universities, right? Why? Because they belong to some remote area, some far away, some village area. So the government at the university pre-decide that okay, 20 seats we will take from the remote area. So it doesn't matter if you score means not that good, but you belong to that area which is remote, so we can give you the seat. So there can be some students based on the quota sampling in the university. All right, for example, I don't know in China what are the remote areas, but from Xinjiang, from Harbin or the North region or some underdeveloped areas where like they give special quota sampling that to promote education and these kind of things. Just an example. So that's a quota sampling. Eh, this is also can be. This is also this can also represent the population truly, but how truly we will see. Snowball sampling, as it. So now what is quota sampling? Where you pre-decide that I'm gonna describe, where you describe the characteristics of the target population to select people to reflect the characteristics found in population. So it is given that specific quota or percentage for various types of individual to be interviewed, right? So that's how we develop the quota sampling. Now you can take as I told you, the example of a gender. So based on the gender, based on the religion, based on the disability, right? If some students they are disabled, so they can have a certain quota, right? So everywhere you will see in the government, in different kind of jobs, you will see the quota, right? Some organization they give different quota for disabled people, right? If you're disabled and you have done master, you can get your job easily. Why? Because of the quota sampling. So it can also be true. It can also be good sample technique. It can also be good sampling technique. Oops, what's wrong? But they can be misrepresentative. That's for sure. Now let's talk about the snowball sampling. What is snowball sampling? Snowball is a non-probability sampling technique that is used to identify the potential subjects. What is potential? What are the potential subjects? What are the potential subjects? It means like where subjects are hard to find, hard to locate. That's a snowball sampling. Now, sometimes some people they are really rare to find, right? So it's really hard to get the information from them. We use this sampling method of this if the sample for the study is very rare or limited to small groups, certain small groups. It mostly works in chain. For example, after observing the initial subject, let's say I'm looking for someone who is a foreigner and can speak Chinese and a good chef, right? So then it's really hard to find such people. Like when I have certain specification, when I have certain specification regarding my N, then I use this kind of snowball sampling. What is this snowball sampling? We will have a look after the break, and then we will go for the probability sampling. Okay, so now it's a break time. If you don't understand, you can ask me the question. If you understand that good enough, you can talk anything else than statistics. Remember one thing, break is not meant to discuss about the class. Break is just meant to discuss other things other than the statistic, other than the class. So you can discuss anything other than statistics with your friends. You can pass on different definitions of different things. So you have a break now.